It is. Yeah, I don't know anything about racing. This is true. You're right. You're in the wrong show.
Yeah.
You're watching the wrong show if you want to hear like super engineer stuff.
And honorable mention, Alpine, because hello, French Revolution.
And buenas.
How's it going, man?
What's going on, man? What a crazy week it has been.
Yes,
And we're still here bringing you some Formula One. Well, some Formula One talk, some race talk. We don't know anything about Formula One, but we're gonna bring you some of it anyways.
I mean, we don't pretend otherwise. It's right there in the intro.
This is true. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even say super engineer stuff. Like, what the hell was that? Like, I think about it sometimes. I'm like, what the hell am I trying to say there? I mean, that's exactly.
I think if you did it in a British accent, though, then it would be sophisticated. You would know what you're talking about. I mean,
super engineers. No,
okay, you don't have it. You don't have it in your tool belt. I thought you had it. You don't have it.
I can do a decent British accent. It's just like you put me on the spot there.
Yeah, no. That was the unfair call out there.
Yes. No, that was French. Super. I
mean, hello, French Revolution.
Yeah, French Revolution. Speaking of French Revolution, Moni is probably dreaming with French right now.
Yeah, something.
God knows what it is. But we're here, and it's the Austrian Grand Prix weekend.
Yeah, it's finally.
Canada, but no, it's Austria. It's Austria.
Canada was the last week. So then, did we talk about Spain? We were talking about this before the show. I don't think we did actually. I think Canada was last week.
I'm sorry, not Canada. For some reason, I thought it was Silverstone.
I think I said that last week and I was wrong, as I'm pretty sure where that came from. You got fake news from someone else on the show, and who sure remain nameless. And then,
you don't know what you're talking about, man. You don't know.
I mean, look, I'm trying to live up to the slogan of the show.
Unbelievable. But yeah, so the Austrian Grand Prix is here.
Good for Red Bull. They finally catch a break at their home race.
Yeah, right. I mean, we'll see what's going to happen with them if they can be competitive this weekend or not.
Yeah, it's tough times for them.
I tell you. I mean, look at this. I mean, just look at this course, right? Look at the track. If it's not built for Red Bull, I don't know who it's built for, my friends. But it looks as though.
I mean, every track is built for Red Bull at this point, but
if they don't show up with the car, if they forget the car in or they if they forget it in Silverstone or in Canada or wherever the hell they were, that's the only way I don't see them kind of like just dominating this whole entire weekend. Really, I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, no, but I will say, Checo's not exactly finishing second, so
this is true.
So just give Max his props here, because Checo's he's not getting it done. But anyway, this is the track on the calendar with the fewest number of turns. There's only 10 of them, so a lot of straights.
What is it? 71 laps? Yeah,
71 laps. A lot of straights, which, as we know, favors Red Bull.
This could get
although it doesn't really even matter for them. But so there should be overtaking opportunities down the field at least. So
right,
that'll be interesting.
Looking for an exciting race in that aspect. At least in the middle of the field.
And don't want to get stuck behind a Williams as always. So.
I'll talk to Ferrari about that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think everyone pretty much. I mean, Red Bull breezes past anyone if they're stuck behind them. But other than that, like the Williams is able to hold people up.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And actually, this is a good track for them as well, right? They could potentially do really well here because of all the straights.
Yeah, they're so bad in the rest of the track. They could lose it here.
Right. That's true. That's true. But
But it is 3 DRS zones in a row of just straights. So going into turn 4, there's definitely overtaking opportunities.
do you think there's too many DRS zones in this on this circuit, on this track?
I would be fine with them just getting rid of DRS entirely, to be honest. But I mean, if there's a straight, they could kill one of them, but
Yeah.
maybe kill the middle one. I don't know.
I mean, I like the DRS though. It makes. I mean, I know you're used to not having DRS as well. You know.
Well, I mean, if the whole
If it was more competitive, if the whole
they were supposed to. I mean, the new rules were supposed to allow for more overtaking and all that. We're still like you need DRS to get past people, so still it didn't really work.
How about this? Do you foresee that if the field somehow bunches up together and everybody is just about the same, a little more competitive, they may consider removing DRS or at least trimming it down?
Nope.
No.
I think the only way that it would get removed is, using this track as an example. If it was so determinative that like someone overtakes going to the first turn and they get overtaken again going because a different driver has DRS now, and then they overtake back again. Like, or if it comes like clearly the DRS is just allowing the car behind to pass, but really what it's been doing so far is allowing a faster car to giving them an extra boost to make the overtake easier.
Right.
It hasn't really turned in. I think the only way they get rid of it is it turns in like a farce where it's just like, all right, they're just going to pass each other back and forth repeatedly. I mean, it's almost like that in I think it's Saudi Arabia where no one wants to overtake in the first DRS zone because you're going to get passed back in the second one. They're all like slamming on the brakes to be behind, and it's that is borderline ridiculous. But unless it's just it. But then again, they're all about the show now, so even if it becomes a farce where everyone's just passing back and forth, they're probably like, this is better.
Yeah, you sure it's not a farce already?
I mean, no, it's just, Red Bull, to their credit.
Yeah, they're just better.
They're kicking everyone's ass and legitimately, so there's nothing really. I mean, that is one of the things with Formula One. We go through these eras where cars better and it's hard to catch up. It's even harder to catch up now with the cost cap.
Right.
But it's always been a meritocracy, so
yeah.
Which is different from a lot of the other racing series where you basically just buy the parts and assemble a car, and it's much more everything's closer together. And this one, if you design a better car, you tend to keep that advantage for a while.
Right. All right, so let's move on to the tire compounds. As here they go with the C3 to the C5. So I noticed here I was looking at this, and I guess I never really paid too much attention to it, so I'm not sure if it was on there or not. But it looks like they kind of give you an idea of what the best tire for qualifying is going to be, which typically is going to be the softer tire, right?
Right.
So you got your C5, but then the racing tires are completely different. They're saying the C3 and the C4 are going to be better for the race. Why is that, right? Why can't they say, well, hey, slap on those C5s, for the last 15, 20 laps or 15 laps, and you're going to smoke everybody anyways. Why is it the C3 and the C4 are the best? Is it because of the wear, because of degradation?
I think so, and I think it's because of where it lands in terms of stops on this race. I think they're thinking if you go C3, C4, or probably C4, C3, you can probably one stop it versus two stops. The other thing to look at, going just back to the previous thing here is this is the lap record, but it's barely over a minute. It's a short track.
Right.
So if you pit, it's a long pit lane too. You can kind of see it. If I recall correctly, it's here. So you can lose a lot of track position, get caught in a lot of traffic trying to come out of the pits too. So I think that's probably playing into it as well. It's a pretty big loss on a pit in this.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. But at any rate, you'll see.
I still think we'll see quite a few. I mean, I feel like every race they do think something like this, and then we see a bunch of cars start on the C5 anyway because they want to. Because it's so much grippier at the beginning. You don't want to get that jump off the starting line.
Well, what'll happen is, maybe you might get a guy like God forbid for him, but if I get a guy like Checo or Leclerc in the back of the of the field at the start, they may have to use that C5 to get out in front because this track is so short, it's so quick. There's so many straights. They might have to do that to get out in front.
Yeah, and the other thing is they still. I mean, we're in the second year of this tire. There were changes from last year, but they still don't have a handle on it. I feel like every race they say, "Oh, it's going to be high deg," and it's either they're wearing faster than they thought or they're lasting longer than they thought. Like they haven't really like. They always have like, "Oh, this is the pit window," and then cars are routinely pitting early or pitting late. So I think we'll see the C5 in the race quite a bit.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right on that. Oh man! So here's the race times.
We haven't mentioned this yet, but you'll see it on the schedule. But this is a shootout weekend.
Oh, it is.
It
Yes,
is.
it is. I'm scrolling through it now.
It's a sprint race,
So you got practice FP1 at 7:30.
and then qualifying. This is on Friday, by the
And
way.
then you got qualifying at 11. Woo! Then you got the sprint shootout at 6 in the morning. Is that right?
That is correct, my friend.
6 in the morning on July 1st, which is Saturday morning, and then you got the sprint race at 10:30 in the morning. So correct me if I'm wrong. Qualifying, this is how it works again for anybody that's kind of paying attention to this. Qualifying will be how you start in the race. The sprint shootout and the sprint are something completely different, and they will not affect the race, correct?
Correct. So qualifying is the normal format, and that determines the race order. The
Right.
sprint shootout is like a truncated format of the qualifying, and that determines the sprint race order. Now they do award points for the sprint, so you do get points, but it's not part of the race.
So the sprint shootout is like your qualifying, but it's right, like you said,
Yeah,
shorter.
it's qualifying for the sprint. It's just
Right.
it's a truncated format.
Right. So you got shorter times spent on track for Q1, Q2, Q3, same thing. And then of course you've got the sprint shootout, and then the top 8 there qualify for points.
Yeah,
Right. Top 8,
yeah,
you've got
yeah.
the race.
Yeah, and it's a completely worthless format, to be honest.
That's stupid. It's just
Well-
that more too. I mean, more race.
Well, I mean, the reason they went to this format a few years ago is this is obviously not an issue with Miami or some of the newer races, but if all you have is two practice sessions on a Friday, they have attendance issues. The tickets are expensive. People don't want to go out there just to watch practice. So by putting qualifying on the Friday, all of a sudden there's something worth watching. And so what they've done now is if you look at it, Friday you got qualifying, Saturday you got the sprint race, Sunday you have the actual race. So there's like an event on every day.
Right.
It's not practice. That's why they did it. But the problem with the sprint race is this is the thing, right? It's too short. So you're not actually going to, you can pit, but there's no reason to pit. So it does tend to settle in a little bit, or, right when tires start to wear out, it's like, oh, it's over. So, but then if you make it longer, it's just the race before the race. So there's not like a good way to do something like that, because the other thing you also don't want to do is let the teams know, you don't want them to be able to run long enough the sprint race is race conditions, like full on track is full of the cars, like you're overtaking all that. You don't want it to be so long that they can then, figure out their race strategy, because they essentially just got to run a race simulation. So they have to keep it shorter, but it doesn't really serve a purpose.
Right. Yeah.
And I would point out that while everyone keeps blaming the Americans for all these changes to F1, this is one that directly screws us. Because do you want to watch qualifying, Jazz? I don't know about you. I'm at work. So
of course, yeah, that sucks. Completely sucks for me.
Yeah, it sucks for all of us. Like, this is like such an anti-American thing to do. Let's put an event in the middle of the day on a work day.
Right.
And yeah, so they try to blame the Americans for all the changes to Formula One. This is one that 100% is not catering to the American market. So,
well, we'll see. It'll still be fun. I'm sure. The typical F1.
Yeah, we'll see who finishes behind Max and all that. So
yeah, it'll be fun. Look, I guess that's what this is all about. Is the opportunity for. I think that's why everybody gets excited. Well, this could be an opportunity for someone to finish in front of Max because the sprint shooter. Stop. It's not going to happen. If Max's car is fine.
I mean, what we've seen, unfortunately, is even if his car isn't fine.
Right.
Like, starts in, like, oh, his car had a problem in qualifying. He's starting 12th, like 3 laps into the race. He's like, he's already third. This is so over.
It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous what that guy does.
Can't even hold him up.
No, you can't. You can't. That's. I think it's going to be an issue, but
I mean, look. So we'll talk about this in a minute, but they're the two teams that are really pushing or trying to push Red Bull are Aston Martin and Mercedes. They're bringing a bunch of upgrades. So the gap does in these development cycles. It does tend to close over time. So hopefully.
Right.
The Red Bulls didn't win every race last year. So far they have this year, but
won everyone this one, right?
Yeah. So, but again, we're not even halfway through the season. So.
Right. That's the scary part.
Well, I mean, there's opportunities. At some point, you got to figure someone else will win a race.
Yeah. What's the weather look like there, Vish?
Well, here's something. We could get some rain here.
Rain, Fernando Alonso, and Carlos Albon all day. That's your P1 and P2.
Well, I don't know who Carlos Albon is, but
I mean, Carlos Albon. That's where my head is at right now. Oh man, Alex Albon, of course, is what I meant to everybody.
Well, so there's Sunday shouldn't have rain, but the qualifying on Friday and the sprint on Saturday, could be fun. We'll see.
Fun is one way to put it, for sure.
Well, it's F1, so maybe we will be able to watch the qualifying because they'll red flag it so much it'll drag off. And
speaking of upgrades, you mentioned Mercedes and Aston Martin bringing some upgrades, and obviously they're the ones right behind Red Bull right now. So
they're in the standings.
Right behind is probably not the right word to say.
Again, though, I do think there's Checo is not really doing anything right now, so you just need a mechanical problem for Max or something where he's like out of the race, and then someone else will probably win. So
yeah,
I mean, what I mean by obviously someone, I mean not a Red Bull, because Checo does not appear to be competitive.
No, I think I think this is the race that, as much as Red Bull is dominant, especially on the type of circuit like this, I think that this is a race that I'm going to call it. You're going to see somebody else other than a Red Bull win.
Are you talking on the actual race or the sprint race?
The actual race. I'm going to do it. Screw it.
Well, we had predictions already. What happened?
Yeah, we'll get to the predictions in a second.
But there are upgrades, and Mercedes, again, this is part of their series of upgrades they've been bringing. So they're supposed to bring some to Silverstone.
And they're looking stronger, right? They're looking stronger and stronger. So
yeah, they're supposed to bring some to Silverstone too. So like this is just part of their incremental whatever. So we'll see. They did close the gap, if you recall. They
did.
So they've gotten, like you said, they're getting stronger. So let's see if they can close it some more, and then again in the next race.
Aston Martin with Fernando Alonso looking good. Stroll, on the other hand, well,
oh my God,
yeah,
the second drivers on the top 3 teams have been terrible. So
yeah, it's been interesting to see that, man. This is interesting news. This Bridgestone news that apparently they're competing to get in on being the tire for F1.
I mean, they used to be for years,
right? They used to be, and then
it's been Pirelli for the last decade.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel? First of all, how do you feel about the Pirelli tire? And second of all, do you think Bridgestone could kind of make a run to come back in? And
well, the interesting thing about the tires is the manufacturers lose money on the tires. It's just like a status thing,
right? Sure,
because they're having to manufacture them all, bring them for the teams. The teams obviously go through a ton of them. And they're not really, and they have to spend all this money in research and development. They're not really getting that money back.
Yeah.
But it's a prestige thing. So, I mean, Bridgestone has been the tire manufacturer for most of F1's existence. Then there was that tire war they had with Michelin in the early 2000s, and then Michelin went away. And it's just them again. Then obviously Pirelli took the contract over. I think it'll be an interesting change, and we're talking about 2025, so a couple of years from now. But it would be interesting to see if it like mixed the field up because they certainly develop cars to fit the tires.
Right.
And when Bridgestone used to be the F1 tire manufacturer, it was a different ask. Pirelli was asked to make tires that degrade more. With the Bridgestones, by the end, you could take the softest compound and run the whole race on it without really having a drop off. And because they were developing the best tire they could, Pirelli's not actually doing that. They're trying to strike a balance between like wear and performance and intentionally making sure that they wear, because otherwise everyone just put on the fastest tire and run with it.
And just go. Right. Exactly.
So Bridgestone's never had to do that, so it would be interesting to see.
That's why I think can they do that, right? That's
I don't see why not. They're a tire
they can, but is it is it going to change the performance on these cars significantly? Is it going to make it better? Is it going to make it worse? Are the drivers going to be happy?
I mean, I'm good with it. I'm good with it mixing up the grid or whatever.
Yeah.
So but again, they're basically what happened this week is they were kind of selected along with Pirelli to advance to the next stage for evaluation. So
gotcha.
Those are the two that are going to essentially compete for the contract.
Woohoo! Exciting.
I mean, at this point, anything that shakes it up is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I guess so. Do you want to talk about this cost cap enforcement stuff with F1 or not?
Well, basically, just to give you a 10-second overview of this, there's always been this thing where, they're trying to monitor the money going into the F1 team, and these are all major companies, and several of them have their own car division. How do you know, the stuff being put on the road car is not also being used on the F1 card and all that stuff? So I'm assuming the reason this is newsworthy, they're investigating now non-F1 personnel. So basically people working at these companies. And for Red Bull, this would be probably some investigation between AlphaTauri and Red Bull's links. But there more on AlphaTauri in a minute, but or a player to be named later. So they're kind of, my guess is the only reason they're doing this is because teams are actually cheating. You don't do the extra investigation unless you kind of know that essentially they're not allowed to share information from the rest of their company to the F1 team, and they list out people that are excluded from the cost cap. So they're now investigating and interviewing the people excluded from the cost cap under suspicion that they're actually just working for the F1 team. And anyway, so someone else might get a slap on the wrist like Red Bull did for just violating the cost cap blatantly last year.
Yeah, it's not going to make a difference.
It's not going to make a difference to a team like Red Bull, but if someone else that's not
Haas gets a slap on the wrist, it's a hard slap.
Yeah, or even in the bunched up midfield between Mercedes, Ferrari, and Aston Martin, if they get a penalty, remember Red Bull got less wind tunnel time,
right?
Less development, all that stuff that could cause a team that's going to be second challenging Red Bull to fall back to fourth. So they could, but the reason it was frustrating with Red Bull is the year they violated the cost cap was that year that Max won on the last lap of the last race. Right. It's hard to argue it didn't help them at all to the point that margin was not part of the reason why. So that's where it was and all you did was say and then of course by the time the penalty came in, we knew they'd already developed a monster car that was going to kill everyone for the next 3 or 4 years. And it's less wind tunnel time in 2023. Great.
Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. What's that going to do now? They're already way out in front of everyone, and they got to keep their championship that they wanted. So yeah. But yeah, no, this could actually impact teams if they crack down on it.
Speaking of impacting teams, a team that's very well known, maybe not in F1 right now, but they do perform in F2, F3, and F4. High Tech has entered a bid. for an F1 team for 2026. Now, we were talking about this earlier, me and Vish, and this is somewhat breaking news from Helmut Marko and over there at Red Bulls, stating that AlphaTauri is going to change their name, right? So it's no longer going to be AlphaTauri, right? It went from Toro Rosso to AlphaTauri, right? And so now they're going to be a different name. I don't think this high tech bid has anything to do with AlphaTauri. However, they are a Silverstone based squad, and they do have an F2, F3, and F4 team right now. So this could just be an additional team coming into the circuit, correct?
Yeah, that's what they're bidding for. So so I believe there can be up to 24 cars.
Right. Yeah,
in the F1 and right now, yeah. So right now there's 10. So theoretically, 2 other teams could join the grid, and there's a bidding and evaluation process and things you have to go through, and then you have to be accepted in. So obviously, we know Andretti is also doing that, and I think there was one other team that was doing that now. High Tech, as you said, has a lot of racing pedigree, just not the F1 level, but basically in all the junior circuits. So it's kind of an interesting, and they're very successful, by the way, in the junior circuits. They just never stepped up to the big times. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with this, and it'll be interesting to see how much of because keep in mind what Andretti is bringing to the table is a ton of money and Cadillac, which is General Motors. So you're not going to really get a stronger.
Yeah, that might be the strongest bid out
there. That will be the strongest bid. So if they actually High Tech's coming in instead of Andretti, you're going to know it's anti-Americanism. I mean, just flat out.
Right.
Because there's actually no reason. Basically,
you said that they could potentially have.
They could potentially have 2. They could potentially have 2. But every time they added, basically the F1 at this point is a collective. So when they add a team, the distribution gets smaller. So you have to be able to basically justify. You have to be able to grow the pot more than like the existing slices are. So that way, actually, even though it's divided 11 or 12 ways instead of 10, we actually make more money because there's that much more money coming in.
Right.
It's hard to imagine anyone other than Andretti being able to do that. If you get an actual American-based team with money and a GM partnership, that feels like it could bring quite a bit of money.
I agree.
That you're not so, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they actually are going to expand the grid at all. But it's just more competition for that spot.
All right, so Vish, you wanted to do this. And I'm still thinking about it. And
I know I didn't actually prepare. I just said, "Hey, we should do this," and then I didn't prepare because what the hell.
But so as we mentioned a little bit ago, AlphaTauri is not going to be anymore for 2024. This is the last year that they will have that name. Anybody who knows AlphaTauri is a clothing line as well. Who's they sponsor a lot of the drivers, some other athletes as well. I think Pascal Siakam is one of them, and some other guys. So, I don't know is the exact reasoning behind what Helmut Marko is doing there to change the name. However, I don't really care. It's just
it's a relatively recent name.
Right.
The team has been around.
Yeah,
but
the team's going to stay. It's just a matter of.
Right, they were Toro Rosso before, which is just Red Bull in Italian.
Yeah.
But then they decided to use it to market their clothing brand. So I guess they're not doing that anymore. So it'll be interesting to. I mean, I don't know if you thought I said so basically I told Jazz we should come up with names and see if we can name the team, and then I at least did not prepare.
Well, here's the thing, right? So. Obviously, who's making that stupid ass noise? This guy has a boat that he never takes out, but he turns it on all the time in the most inopportune times in my backyard here, like my neighbor. So obnoxious. AlphaTauri. So correct me if I'm wrong, but AlphaTauri is not based in England, right? In London.
No, it's based in Italy.
It's based in Italy. So that was a big thing for Marko as well, right? Is how to have the team closer to their headquarters over in the UK with
right
Horner.
Well, basically the only 2 teams that aren't run out of the UK are Ferrari and AlphaTauri. even
Haas.
oh wait, no, actually, but
Haas.
Haas has an operation in the UK. Actually, Alpine is run out of France.
Oh, true.
But even like Mercedes, famous German brand, they run out of England.
Right. Yeah.
So it's harder to run the team out of Italy, and so they that's also been something that they've been talking about a lot. I still think it's weird and probably should not be allowed that they own two teams on the grid.
Yeah.
When we're just having that conversation about the pie getting divided. How about making them sell AlphaTauri to one of these big pocketed people? Now it's just a bigger pie with the same division, right? I don't. Doesn't feel like the team really serves much of a purpose anymore. It did used to. In fact, all of the Red Bull great drivers came through this team. Max, Vettel, they came through this team, so it was serving a purpose. But at this point, they're sitting there hiring Checo's corpse, and it's not a junior team anymore. It's their drivers are not really there to ascend to the to the main team anymore. It doesn't really have a purpose.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I like to. I don't have a name for you, so I'm gonna have to think of something. But
Well, hold on. Let's do a little creative here. So let's see do a little quick googling. What is in the Red Bull portfolio? They can name it after.
the Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean this is a AlphaTauri is a clothing brand that is owned by Red Bull, right?
Right.
So what else is owned by Red Bull? That is.
They own obviously the energy drink. They own a clothing line. They own. I mean.
Okay, so here's extension of the Red Bull brand. Let's see if we got anything here.
Yeah.
They own,
I think everything says Red Bull of theirs.
Yeah, they own like 400 soccer teams or whatever.
Yeah. Salzburg.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Salzburg, New York Red Bulls.
New York Red Bull. They got
RB Leipzig, which they aren't allowed to. This is The only thing I'm seeing here is other than the clothing. Wait, music. There's a Red Bull Records.
Yeah, there is.
But they're all, like you said, they're all called Red Bull. The only one that's not is AlphaTauri, from what I can see.
Yeah, that's it. Everything else.
Is just called Red Bull, which they obviously can't do that. So, can they have a lifestyle magazine called Red Bulletin? They should call it that, Red Bulletin.
Red Bulletin.
Oh man, but yeah, I don't see anything here. I don't see anything here. It's not. Man, they have a double Dutch team. Like seriously.
They do?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, nothing. Nothing here that.
Who decided to show up to the party?
Oh, look at Evan. What's up, man? Marg's on tap. Evan, if you have a name for what AlphaTauri should call themselves, throw it in the chat. We're stumped here. Yeah, there's nothing in the portfolio here.
Trying to think of something, but I'm totally stumped, bro. Like I can't even think. But
anyway. That was a fail, but
yeah,
I think it was a good idea. We just didn't.
Well, I mean, it does. That's what I said, right?
I mean that works.
It works for me.
Yeah.
You know, but all right. So let's get down to it. Do you want to do sprint shootout sprint and then race winner?
I mean, that it's just have to say max twice instead of once. Is that what you're asking me to do?
Basically.
All right, so I got Max and Max and Max. All right, it's pretty easy.
Max winning it all the way through. All right, who's your sprint winner? Vish, come on.
It's Max. What the hell did I? It's a track with 10 turns in all straights.
You're taking the easy way out. My sprint winner, I'm going to say Alonso. Who's your race winner? Who's your P1 to P3?
It's Max.
Well, he's been with them all.
He can't, but he's gonna win this one with all the straights. It's Max Hamilton. Let's go Leclerc.
Hey, speaking of Leclerc, I think Spain had Ferrari had a better showing than expected, considering all the crap that they went through in Canada, right?
Yeah, I'll go with Leclerc as the third, and then the surprise is.
Yeah.
All right, this is going way out on a limb. This is definitely not happening.
Okay, I gotta hear this.
Stroll finishes ahead of Alonso.
Jeez, Stroll ahead of Alonso. Wow. Okay.
So
All
I'm
right.
basically fingers crossed on Alonso DNF because that was the only way that's happening.
Wow. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna go Max Leclerc, and for the race, I'm gonna go Max Leclerc.
Did someone not say that Max was gonna not win the race like 10 minutes ago?
No, I said that he can't win all. He can't win all three, like P1, P2, P3. He's got to win one.
No, way earlier in the show, he said he wasn't going to win this race. And I even clarified,
Oh, shit,
is he not going to win the sprint or he's not going to win the race? And you said
You're
the race.
right.
But you
You're
did
right.
pick him to not win the sprint. So
You're right. No, but I'm going to switch it up. Screw it. I'm going to go Leclerc, finally getting one this weekend. And then I'll go.
Well, you went right to the 4 team on the grid, huh?
Yeah, I'll go Leclerc, Hamilton, and Checo. Max DNFs. That's my surprise. Max DNF. There.
I mean, that's what you need. The only way to justify Max
Yeah,
not winning is
right,
the
I
DNF.
know, exactly.
I mean, maybe Russell like hit him off the track because he's like, I'm George Russell. He should move out of the way.
Probably what's going to happen, right? It's either going to be Russell or Logan Sargent.
I mean, Logan Sargent can't. If Max is just lucky. Logan Sargent is so far behind that he can never actually hit him.
I mean, at this point, Vasseur might tell Logan Sargent, dude, you want an extra bonus? And under the table, we'll just take out Max. I mean, you know, in a safe way, you know.
This actually works from Evan.
There you're right.
The discount airline, like the
Oh,
shit
my
airline
God.
in Europe, that works. That definitely works.
That's awesome. I
And
like
then the American bridge can be called like Spirit Air or something.
we needed some creativity here on the show.
There we go, man. It's the Marg's on tap. He's kicking in and he's good to go.
I like it.
Yeah, no, that definitely works. It's a discount brand.
Nice. I'll take that. That's all we got for today, man.
Yep, that's it. There was no race to review, so we just
No. I'm excited to watch some racing this weekend, so I'll be able to catch.
Yeah, I am going to just assume that I will be reading the results of the sprint shootout whenever the fuck I wake up, which is not going to be at 6 a.m.
No, I'm not doing that.
But the sprint race
Saturday,
itself, the sprint race itself is at 10:30, which is a solid, decent time. The race is at 9, should be fine. But the 6 a.m. for the sprint qualifying.
And qualifying on Friday, I might catch a glimpse of it on.
That ain't happening for me. So
we'll see. We'll
yeah.
see. Anyways, thanks you guys for watching. Rewatch crew, we appreciate it. Evan,
Yep.
thanks, brother. We'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Yep. See ya.